Hello, everyone. It is Jawa James again. I am here to read another Star Wars book as part of my James Reads the Expanded Universe. This week we have Star Wars The Last Jedi by Michael Reaves and Kathryyn Bohnhoff. It came out about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, or a little about that. It kind of follows up on the adventures of Jax Pavan, who is a former Jedi, and he is now joined a resistance group called Whiplash in the times right after the creation of the Empire. In the last book, he thought that he defeated Vader. Let's see what he's up to this time. The Far Ranger left Toprawa with her nose set towards Ciutric. They would arrive at Dantooine after a series of careful intermediate jumps. Jax piloted the ship as far as the Ciutric system, then adjusted course and relinquished the helm to I-5 to retire to his private quarters. The Misai tree sat atop a column beneath a wash of light. His meditation mat sat before it, and it was there he went now, sitting cross-legged on the floor. He took a deep breath, focused on the tree, following the contours of its elegantly turned trunk and branches with his eyes. When he closed his eyes, the image of the tree remained, the spiraling trunk, the uplifted branches, the bristling energy of the needles. He saw it as a figure of pale green light, a ghost image imprinted on his retinas. There is no emotion, there is peace. Peace. He had to dig for that just now, delving beneath the slurry of emotions that he'd been managing since they'd made the decision to move Yemen away from Coruscant. Jax realized for the first time that he had taken it as a sign of failure. It felt sometimes as if they were in constant retreat, running from the Emperor, running from Vader, running from themselves. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. No, he knew they weren't running. It was a tribute to their success that the Empire had increased its pressure on them, and from his new headquarters, Thi Zon Yimin would be far freer to organize a resistance worthy of the name. Out here, Jax told himself, there would be far more opportunities to network with other resistance cells like the one on Toprawa. There is no passion, there is serenity. Toprawa. Erin Foley's world had seemed the seat of serenity, and her offer for them to stay there and work with the Antarian Rangers was, he had to admit, appealing. No, more than appealing, seductive. There is no chaos, there is harmony. Jax reined in his thoughts. The Whiplash needed to be on Coruscant, and, right now at least, he and Laurent needed to be there too. Maybe later. Maybe if he and Laurent and the others could raise up replacements. Maybe when battles had been won and some balance returned to the Force. There is no death. There is only the Force. The image of the Misai still burned behind his closed eyelids. It struck him as paradoxical that this tiny specimen, with its fragile sprigs, was a close relation to the towering columns of wood around Big Woolly's spaceport. Both drew life from soil and sun. Both pulsed with life force. Both were at once strong and flexible. There was indeed a lesson in that, he realized, and it turned his thoughts toward the way he had experienced the Force. Standing amid the trees of Toprawa, it had been different from his normal perception of it. He had always seen it as a web of energies in which he existed. When he used those energies, he saw them as tendrils or ribbons that reached out from his core to interact with the material universe. But on Toprawa, he had experienced the Force as something that flowed up from the heart of a world, through the arteries of every forest giant and into the atmosphere with the oxygen. In his mind's eye, he saw the trees, the great monumental trees, roots in the ground, reaching into the skies, simultaneously moving and still. It was suddenly very still inside Jax Pavan. He opened his force sense to the Misai where it sat in its pot of soil. He could see it, then. He could feel it, the force originating in some infinite well, flowing up through the slender trunk and gracefully turned branches, breathing out into the ether. He drew in a deep breath, his mind hovering on that verge of epiphany. He felt an echo from that moment of ineffable peace when, months earlier, he had for a brief flash touched the hem of the cosmic force. He felt the stirring in his veins and arteries, and wanting it desperately, reached for the realization that was just beyond his grasp and touched the black heart of vacuum. Vader! Jax recoiled, literally thrusting himself backwards and inward, away from that chill connection. He wanted to believe it had been merely a manifestation of his own apprehension, but he knew it was not. He had felt Darth Vader's touch, as surely as he had felt the deck of the Far Ranger beneath him. He flung himself up from the meditation mat and out into the passageway. No more than a couple steps down the curved corridor, he came face to face with Lorant. Her eyes were storm dark, her expression grim. He needed no verbal confirmation from her, neither did she need it from him. They had both sensed it. They turned as one and ran for the bridge. Alright, that was a section from Star Wars The Last Jedi by Michael Reaves and Kathryyn Bohnhoff. You can pick it up to find out what happens next to Jax Pavan and I-5 and the rest of the crew. And we will see you again soon. And may the Force be with you.